Perfect Wisdom. With the divisions of the Abhisamilakra. Translated by EdwardConze 1904–1979. University of California Press, Berkeley, Los Angeles, London. Chapter 70. The exposition of the consummation of the training in gradual activity. Subhuti. If, O Lord, one who perceives existence has not even adaptable patience, how much less still attainment and reunion, can then someone who perceives non-existence have adaptable patience, or the stage of bright insight, 2. The stage of a pratyekabuddha, of a bodhisattva, or of a Buddha, or the development of the path, thanks to which he could forsake the defilements associated with the disciples and pratyekabuddhas. As one covered with these defilements he cannot enter on a bodhisattva's special way of salvation. Without that he cannot reach the knowledge of all modes, and without that he cannot forsake all the defilements together with their residues. For to one who perceives non-existence there is no production of a dharma that is being produced. How can he, then, without having produced these dharmas, reach the knowledge of all modes? The Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is. Someone who perceives non-existence does not have the adaptable patience, 2. He does not have the forsaking of all the defilements together with their residues. Subhuti. Does, then, the bodhisattva, the great being who courses in perfect wisdom, have a perception of existence or of non-existence? Or a perception of form, 2. A perception of the knowledge of all modes? Of greed or the forsaking of greed? And so for hate, delusion, ignorance, karma formations, consciousness, name and form, 2. Sorrow and lamentation. Ill. Origination, stopping, the path. 2. A perception of the knowledge of all modes, or of the forsaking of all the defilements with their residues. The Lord. No, Subhuti, not so. The bodhisattva, the great being who courses in the perfection of wisdom, has with regard to no dharma whatever the perception of existence or non-existence. And just this is of the bodhisattva, the great being, the adaptable patience, that he has no perception of existence and non-existence. This is just the development of his path, this is just his fruit, when there is no perception of either existence or non-existence. Non-existence in fact is the path of the bodhisattva, the great being, just non-existence is his reunion. By this method also, Subhuti, you should know that with non-existence for own being are all dharmas. Subhuti. If all dharmas have non-existence for own being, how has the Tathagata fully known all dharmas which have non-existence for own being? And how has he, fully knowing them, reached the dominion over the range of all dharmas? The Lord. Here, I, formerly coursing on the bodhisattva course, coursing in the 6 perfections, detached from sense desires, dwell in the attainment of the first, up to the 4th trance. But I do not take up the sign of these trances and trance limbs, do not put my mind to these trances, do not relish or apprehend them. I enter on these trances as they are pure in all their modes. And, having activated their karma result, I incline my thought to the realization of the various wonder-working powers. Of the cognition of the heavenly ear, of the cognition of others' mental make-up, of the cognition of the recollection of former lives, of the cognition of the heavenly eye. Not taking up the sign of these realizations, I do mind those super-knowledges, do not relish, do not apprehend them. Seeing those 5 knowledges as identical with space, I enter into trance. Again, having fully known the utmost, right, and perfect enlightenment through a wisdom which is conjoined with one single moment, having fully understood as it really is that this is ill, this the origination of ill, this the stopping of ill, this the progressive path which leads to the stopping of ill, and, endowed with the 10 powers of a Tathagata, the 4 grounds of self-confidence, 2. The 18 special dharmas of a Buddha, I predict being to the 3 groups. Subhuti. How is it that the Tathagata has produced the 4 trances and the 6 super-knowledges which yet have non-existence for their own being? And how has he predicted to the 3 groups beings who have the character of not being beings? The Lord. If the sense desires, or the evil unwholesome dharmas, had an own being, or some inward existence, or an other being, then I, Subhuti, formerly coursing in the bodhisattva course, having known the sense desires or the evil, unwholesome dharmas as non-existent in their own being, would not have dwelt in the attainment of the 4 trances. But because sense desires and the evil, unwholesome dharmas have no own being, no inward existence, and no other being, except for the fact that they have just non-existence for their own being. Therefore have I, formerly coursing in the bodhisattva course, dwelt in the attainment of the 1st trance, which is detached from sense desires, detached from evil, unwholesome dharmas, with applied and discursive thought, born of detachment, full of joy and ease. And so for the other trances, up to the 4th. If the super-knowledges had existence, or own being, or an other being, then I would not, after I had known all the super-knowledges as having non-existence for own being, have fully known the supreme enlightenment. But because all these super-knowledges have no existence, no own being, no other being, except for the fact that they have just non-existence for their own being. Therefore I have as a Tathagata, after I had known all the super-knowledges as non-existent in their own being, fully known the supreme enlightenment. Gradual reunion. Gradual reunion in general. Subhuti. If the bodhisattva knows full enlightenment, although all dharmas have non-existence for own being, how can one, when all dharmas have non-existence for own being, conceive of a bodhisattva's gradual activity, training, and progress, through which he gradually knows full enlightenment? The Lord. Here the bodhisattva has heard previously, in the presence of the Buddhas and Lords, of the bodhisattvas who have honored the dharmas of the Buddhas, of the Arhats, too, of the stream winners, that, since the Buddhas and Lords have non-existence for own being, and so have the bodhisattvas, the pratyekabuddhas, too. All holy men, all conditioned things have no own being even as little as the tip of a hair. And that bodhisattva thinks to himself, just non-existence are the Buddhas, the Lords, too. The stream winners. Whether I will, or will not, know full enlightenment, just non-existence are all dharmas. When I have known full enlightenment, I should establish all beings who course in the notion of the existence of dharmas in the belief in their non-existence. And that bodhisattva, who has set out for full enlightenment for the sake of leading all beings to parinirvana, exerts himself in the gradual activity, training, and progress in which the bodhisattvas of the past have trained, with the result that they have known full enlightenment. The 6 perfections. Just from the first they train in the 6 perfections. The perfection of giving, 2. The perfection of wisdom. The perfection of giving. When he courses in the perfection of giving, he himself gives gifts and also others he establishes in the perfection of giving. And he praises giving as well as those others who course in the perfection of giving, one acquiescent. Through those gifts he acquires great wealth. And he renounces and gives his gifts with a heart free from stinginess, food to those who are in need of food. Through those gifts he guards that morality which constitutes an essential portion of his spiritual practices. And he acquires an exalted position as a god or human, and he acquires a mass of morality, too. The mass of the vision and cognition of emancipation. Endowed with this giving he transcends the levels of the disciples or pratyekabuddhas and enters on a bodhisattva certainly of salvation. Purifies the Buddha field, matures beings, and reaches the knowledge of all modes. It is thus that, through giving, the bodhisattva's gradual activity is conceived, his gradual training, his gradual progress. And all that cannot be apprehended. And why? Because it has no own being. The 6th perfection of morality. Moreover, the bodhisattva, from the first thought of enlightenment onwards, himself courses in the perfection of morality, and establishes others also in the perfection of morality. He praises morality and also those others who course in the perfection of morality, one acquiescent. Through that morality he acquires an exalted position as a god or a human, and through it he establishes beings in giving, too. In the vision and cognition of emancipation. Endowed with that morality he transcends the levels of the disciples and pratyekabuddhas, and thereafter through that mass of morality, too. That mass of the vision and cognition of emancipation, establishes beings in the triple vehicle and frees them from samsara. It is thus that one conceives a bodhisattva's gradual activity, training, and progress. But all that cannot be apprehended. And why? Because it has no own being. The sixth perfection of patience. The sixth perfection of vigor.